Hello everybody, my name's Star Raptor, and this is another episode of Recap of Thrones, the show where I break down the latest Game of Thrones episode while providing my speculation. Before I get into this episode, this is a spoiler-filled show, so make sure you go ahead and watch the episode before you tune in. Ready? So, just like every other season of Game of Thrones, the 9th episode is always the big battle scene one. So, let's get into Season 6, Episode 9, titled Battle of the Bastards. As always, here's the rundown. So, we start in Meeren, where we left off. Mereen's being attacked by all the different slaver armies. You know, young Caius Lepore, Volantis is there, and they're trying to just send a message to Daenerys and, you know, pretty much kill her. Get all the slavery back into Meeren. But Daenerys actually saves the day with her dragons, as well as bringing in her humongous army of Dothraki, and basically they just annihilate everything and make make them surrender the slavers. Also, what was really important in this episode is we also get the Greyjoys, Yara, and Brother Theon that actually negotiate with Daenerys, making a deal where basically they would help, the Greyjoys would help Daenerys in conquering the Seven Kingdoms, but they just want their independence. They don't really want to be ruled by Daenerys. So she says, oh, you got to be basically giving up your heritage of, you know, reaving and raping and all that. And they make an agreement, so we'll see if that plays out. And really, the bulk of this episode took place in Winterfell. We had the Battle of the Bastards, as the title is named. We have Ramsay Bolton, and we also have Jon Snow going head-to-head. Jon is trying to take over Winterfell. It is an absolute spectacle, and just as we think that Jon Snow is going to lose, who comes and saves him? Peter Baelish and his Knights of Meeren. So they come in there, save him, and then basically Jon Snow defeats Ramsay Bolton in one-on-one combat. He doesn't kill Ramsay because he saves that for Sansa, who has just a horrifying way of killing somebody. But yes, that is what happened on tonight's episode. I'm going to break this down because this was an amazing episode. So here are my strengths. First off, I'm going to talk about a little bit in Meeren. So we have Danny in the beginning of the episode seemed to me like she was becoming more like the Mad King. Like she was just like, I want to burn everything, basically. And we have that nice little conversation where Tyrion's like, you know, you're kind of sounding like your father, so you might want to cool down, basically. So I thought that was kind of interesting because all Targaryens, whether they like to believe it or not, have kind of that thing in their blood where they're like, oh, let's just kill everything and burn it all in flames, you know? Also, you know, Danny, the dragons were awesome. The special effects in just the beginning of this was super, super good. I was thinking that they were going to hold off this whole Meeren conflict until next season, because I figured it would be too resource heavy for these people to produce something like that, but holy shit, was I wrong. Just the shots of like her on the dragons, and we also had Rhaegal and Viserion also joined. We had all three dragons just torching the hell out of the ships, and that wasn't enough. We had the Dothraki come in there and just pick off all the harpies along with Dario. So I'm like, this is amazing right now because we've never seen anything like this. The show increasingly gets bigger production values as the seasons go on. And this is just looking better than 90% of the movies out there at this point. It's just, like, insane. I also really liked when, basically, let's see, the Grey Worm was going to basically kill one of them. But he actually just slices both of their heads off and leaves one. But in, like, one fell swoop, he just stands there and goes, like, pretty effortlessly just takes them out. So I thought that was really cool. You got to have that Grey Worm action in there every season, so that was really cool. And also, going back to the conversation between Yara and Danny, with how they are both very similar, and that's how they're able to get along and make this deal and this kind of compromise between each other. Like, they both had terrible fathers. They both are wanting to command nations that generally, well, yes, they've always had males as leaders, but they're both trying to rise up as females. And we had a nice little quip there by Yara, who kind of said, "Oh yeah, I would do you pretty much if you really wanted me to," type of thing. After they followed up with Euron wanted to put his big cock in her, kind of thing. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, that was really cool how we seen that relationship between those two. I cannot wait. My little speculation is I think the last frame of the finale for season 6 is going to have Daenerys and her entire army on the ships going for the sunset towards across the Narrow Sea towards Westeros. That's what we're going to see. They're going to go right for King's Landing, and it's going to be just pillage and burn everything because they got the Second Sons, they got the Unsullied. Now they probably have more Unsullied for the people that they just like surrendered to the dragons, and they got all these ships. So it's going to be pretty difficult for Westeros to counter them at this point, for sure. What do you guys think? How do you think the next episode's going to end off? I would really like to know, but generally they usually have Daenerys end off. But going away from what happened to Meeren, let's get into the bulk of the episode, which was, the Battle of the Bastards. Now, this was directed by the same guy that did Hard Home, Season 5, again, Episode 9. And that was a tough act to follow because it was basically World War Z with the Whites and the White Walkers. And that was a hugely successful episode. One of the best ones ever did. So, kind of like, how do you live up to something like that, right? Well, if they just do this and it just blows it out of the water for me, I'm sitting there yelling at my TV as if, it's a sport game or something I'm watching on TV. I was so into it. Like, I had so much suspense built up in me the whole time. Like, I was on the edge of my seat, literally just going nuts. So let's break this down. So the start of the battle, we see that Rickon is used as the fuel for Jon's absolute malice and just fury, because that is just a heartbreaking moment when you know that Ramsay's going to do something bad to Rickon. Oh yeah, go for a run, we're going to play a game. And, every time that guy mentioned playing a game, it's usually getting chased by hounds or something else. And, of course, brilliant work by the camera, because the director, we think that Rickon's going to be saved, just right a couple feet away from reach. Arrow goes right through him. And going right away from that. So it's just like this huge loss, and we have this motivation for this battle. A lot of battles in different shows and movies are just not, there's not much of a risk, there's not much of an investment, an emotional investment. So going into this battle with Rickon gone, we have this huge emotional investment. We've had, Jon Snow working to get his brother back all this season, and now to see him fall like that is just absolutely terrible. So it looked to me like Jon Snow wanted to die. He just wanted to just run in there, take as many Boltons out as he could by himself. But just as he's about to charge their line of cavalry, the rest of his army comes out behind him. I thought it was an excellent job again with the director, totally fooling me that there was a huge cavalry charge on Jon's side behind him. And then going right from there, we get what I like to call is the Daredevil shot, which is basically this 1 minute long tracking shot behind Jon Snow of him just in the midst of this carnage and absolute chaos, just going around and just, it's absolute brutality at its finest. Like, I've never seen anything like this before, where you really understand the chaos of the moment-to-moment fight and the confusion where they're like, oh, there's your ally, and there he's getting hit by a horse. Oh, here's this guy. Then you have to watch out for a wave of arrows. Like, and they're just continuously following him. And he's fighting. He's getting dirtier and dirtier with mud, blood covering his face, looking at like an absolute savage. But you just gotta admire the absolute warrior prowess of Jon Snow. I mean, this guy has fought so hard with with the White Walkers, with the Wildlings. He's just had so much experience, so we haven't seen anything quite like this. And you just see the horrors of war. I mean, you see like a literal mountain of bodies building up of people that have just fallen. And you got guys that are holding their guts, their intestines out, losing limbs, like just screaming. And it is just like in your head, I feel like I'm in there on this battlefield, and then you see Jon getting buried by the people falling on top of him. And you keep seeing, again, the director did an amazing job with this episode, cutting back and forth, black, and then like black vision, and then like having like the disorientation of the sounds. Like I actually felt like I was getting crushed. Like he did such a good job of that, and I literally thought Jon was a goner. And then just being the whole point of them being surrounded by the Boltons with the shields, like you literally see like these guys are not going to be able to do anything. They're getting surrounded, and it's like that Roman like kind of legion kind of troops surrounding them, and they're just slowly pushing them in, pinching them, and their just spears are going in. There's nothing these guys can do. They're getting more crushed together, more packed together, and to the point where at one point, like they're just crushed together. Everybody, enemies and allies alike. Especially like you see the one part with Tormund Giantsbane, and he just like rips. He just like freaking bites the Umber leader's like freaking carotid artery or something, and it just starts stabbing him in the eye. Like it, like I said, it's just absolute brutality that I've never seen in anything like this before. Like it was just mind blowing. And then like when then of course you see like they get rescued at the last minute by by the Aarons along with Littlefinger and Sansa. So apparently that letter she was writing back when last episode was going to Peter Baelish saying, "Okay, I'll accept your help because Tullys aren't going to be able to get here in time." And when we seen them and the music just kind of goes up, I actually started getting like tears of joy, and I couldn't believe this because they just played it that there was no way these guys were getting out alive, and you just see the Aarons go in there, you know, just kind of like Lord of the Rings, Helm's Deep. You see Gandalf leading the charge through the Uruk-hai. I mean, you get the same kind of triumphant feeling, like yes, this is actually happening. Like it's freaking incredible. So yeah, that was absolutely incredible. And then we go to Winterfell, and we see the one-on-one with Jon and Ramsay, and Jon. You just see his face, like he is determined to just murder this guy. You know, it's beyond what he's usually wants to do is murder anybody, and he actually holds off for his sister Sansa because he knows how much she. Well, he doesn't know, but he can get an idea of all the crap she went through, you know, being with this guy, and just her getting revenge on Ramsay was absolutely perfect. They couldn't have done a better job. I actually speculated that he would get killed by his own medicine, so to speak, with the hounds. He always killed people with the hounds. Let's have a taste of his own medicine. Having him sealed there in a chair, and you know his dogs were starving for 7 days. Doesn't matter who the hell he is commanding them. They're not loyal to anybody. They want that fresh meat, and they're gonna get it. Ramsay is freaking dead. I couldn't be happier. Like I actually hated this character more than Joffrey, which is saying a lot because hell, Jack Gleason did an amazing job with that character, but Ian Royne, I think is how you pronounce his name. This guy is gonna go down in history as one of the most, you know, sadistic, cruel villains in cinema, entertainment history. So yeah, just going over this episode, it's just amazing what they accomplished with this. Now I have a weakness, and it is not to this episode because this episode was was perfect. I could say that this episode was freaking perfect. I don't know, but the one weakness I had, which is to Game of Thrones in general, I got spoiled a little bit, even though it was likely it was going to happen. I got spoiled by the opening credits of the you know the map thing they show all over the world, and they showed Aidan Gillen was in the episode. Now that is the actor of Peter Baelish, so automatically I knew, he's gonna save the day, and of course I was right. But I mean that's just a little nitpick. But I just wish maybe they can like leave their name out and have it at the after credits or something like that, so people like me that know every actor in the damn show don't get spoiled. But that's just a little nitpick. Moving on, let's get into the quote of the episode. I gotta give it to Sansa. She's just changed so dramatically throughout this season, and I heard her speaking to Ramsay before he was devoured by his own hounds. Your words will disappear. Your house will disappear. Your name will disappear. All memory of you will disappear. That just was so powerful of a message. Like, this is it. Their House of Boltons are done. You know, they're going to be erased from the history books. Yes, they did terrible, evil things, but Starks have Winterfell. They have Winterfell now. It's like, what is going on? They're going to be the bulwark against the legions of the White Walkers. And I can't wait to see what the aftermath is on the next episode. But yes, I can't stress this enough. This is one of the best episodes of Game of Thrones. I'm gonna sleep on it a couple more nights. This could be my favorite episode of Game of Thrones. One of the best episodes of anything I've ever seen. I was just ecstatic watching this thing. I couldn't get over it. I was yelling, like I said. I was so into this episode. We have one episode left, guys. Next week we have episode 10, season 6, titled Winds of Winter. Really cool name because, as some of you might know, that's the book that George R. R. Martin is releasing next in the Song of Ice and Fire. So, we have a lot of things to tie up in next episode. Are they going to show any more of Dorne? Are they going to show any more of Samwell Tarly? Are they going to show Bran? Please give us more awesome flashbacks. Maybe we'll find a little more of the history of Westeros, hopefully through his tantalizing flashback Morgan abilities. But that is it. What did you guys think of this episode? Were you loving it just as much as I did? Let's talk about it, please, guys, in that comment section below. I'm Star Raptor, and winter is coming. Did you enjoy this video? Then make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up symbol. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Subscribing to my channel will help me out, and it helps you guys out, keeping up to speed on all my latest content. Speaking of which, you can catch my weekly Star Wars show down over there. You can see a recent review I've done over there, and you can follow me on social media, Twitter @StarRaptor, as well as Facebook.com/StarRaptor.